Company shares. How many people got shares? How many people's shares are worth more than they were a week ago? What, the country or the store?
I pay for Kerry Katona's boob job.
There you go. Shares, again, obviously it's not a great time. Well, again, who knows what's going to happen to shares. Maybe it is a great time to sell. I can't say. Could go up or down. You might have some shares. You might work for a company that has kind of a right to buy shares, a share scheme that you could cash in work and raise some money that way. How many people are in here are self-employed? Self-employed, okay. So probably about 50-50 from that show of hands. About 50% of you are employed. And any of you get any kind of share options in work? Yeah. Probably not the time anyway. I wouldn't imagine the company shares are going to be worth more now than they were at your kind of right to buy price. But, you know, when the market rebounds, something to think about anyway. Who has got family who have got money? Any elderly relatives, grandparents or aunties with like thousands and thousands of pounds stashed under their floorboards? No? Okay. Oh, okay. Lucky you. Family, you know, surprising how many people have got relatives that have got money that isn't really doing a lot for them, maybe sat again in the bank or building society earning them 4 or 5%. You know, maybe you could go to that person, look, help me out here, I've got a little business proposal, I'm looking to raise £5,000-6,000, you're only getting X amount on that, you know, give me that and I will give you a 8 or 9% return on your money. You could maybe look them, bring them in on it, make them a partner in your proposal. So, you know, they're effectively funding the deposit. You do all the work and the running round and give them a healthy return on your money. Something to think about. I mean, again, in this room, any of you guys work as business partners? Anybody in here? Yeah, you know, you work with somebody else. Half the profits is in what you get, but you're sharing the risk, you know. You're only taking on half the risk yourself then. So, there you go. How many people in here have a mortgage on their residential property? Okay. How many in here who've got a mortgage on their residential property also have mortgages on a buy-to-let property? Okay, pretty much the same number. Third and final question, not a trick question. How many of you who've got mortgages on your residential property and a buy-to-let property get a better rate of interest on the buy-to-let property than they get on their residential property, or get a more cost-effective mortgage in terms of the fees and everything else they pay? So I think the consensus from that is that it's cheaper to borrow on your residential property than borrowing against a buy-to-let property, yeah? So, end of the day, if you can raise money from your own property for the purpose of raising an investment for a buy-to-let property, it's going to be at a pretty competitive rate. It's going to be at the same kind of rate, if you're lucky, that you're getting on the rest of your residential borrowing. So that's secured borrowings. The other way is a secured loan to sit behind your first mortgage. At the moment, particularly, a lot of companies don't like lending for that purpose. So not every company that does secured loans will be happy to lend for the purpose of buying an additional property. Some will, some won't. Again, we do encourage people to be open and honest at all times when dealing with financial institutions, but how open and honest you want to be, I'm going to leave that to your own imagination. You know, if you go to a company and say, I want to borrow £15,000 because I want to buy a car, I want to make some home improvements and, you know, a couple of grand left, maybe go on holiday, how much are they going to actually scrutinise that, you know? I mean, how much information do people need? If I was putting my CV together, am I going to put on there that at the end of this I go around collecting up the empty coffee cups because they look a mess on the floor and they need to go in the bin? I'm not, you know, I'm going to sell myself on my good points and, you know, something to bear in mind when you're dealing with these companies. It's not a great time in the secured loan market. The rates at the moment aren't that competitive in relation to first mortgages, but again, if it's the only option you've got, maybe your first mortgage lender is in a position, particularly at the moment, where they're just not giving out any more money than you've already got. A second charge lender may be the way forward. The other way, if you can't get the money from your own lender, you can remortgage your own property for a higher amount of money to raise extra capital that way. Again, the moment, because the market is quite depressed, you're going to be raising money to a certain percentage of your current market value, not necessarily the market value when you had the initial mortgage. You may find that your residential property has actually now gone down in value compared to when the last time you financed. So there may not be as much money at your disposal as you thought, but again, it's a great way of raising the finance. Unsecured loans, get a personal loan. I mean, everyone and his dog is still doing personal loans, from Tesco to all the high street banks. Personal loans tend to be more limited in what you can borrow than a secured loan, tend to be a maximum of between 15 and 25,000. And in terms of the length of time they'll let you run that loan over, again, tend to be more restrictive than secured borrowing. So some only offer a maximum term of about 5 years. Some may go up to about 10 years. It's unusual to get an unsecured loan that will go for a term longer than that. In terms of rate, personal loan is very much determined by your own circumstances and your own credit score. If you're completely squeaky credit clean, you've got a great credit profile, and you tick all them boxes, then the rate that you could get on the personal loan could be a lot more competitive than on a secured loan. If you don't tick their boxes, but you're still a good credit risk, you haven't got adverse county court judgments, mortgage arrears, then a secured loan may work out cheaper. Really depends on your circumstances, how you generate your income, whether it's employed or self-employed. Like anything, shop around, obviously speak to a number of different people. Don't just assume that because you've banked with whoever for the last 20 years that they love you and they're going to take care of you and they're going to give you the super duper special rate that's only reserved for people who've banked with them for 20 years. Ain't going to happen. How many in here love their bank and think they love you back? How many get excited every time they go into their bank to see their bank manager and they think it's like meeting a friend whose only purpose in life is to make your life better? Exactly, you've got the right idea. Any financial institution exists for purely and simply the same reason as why you're trying to put your portfolio together. It's about making money, it's about making profit, it's about justifying their own salaries. They don't care about your best interest, they care about their best interest. If your best interest falls into that category and, you know, improving your circumstances helps them, then they'll buy into it, but that's the only reason. The fact you banked there for 20 years, your grandfather, your father, you know, 4 generations of your family, irrelevant, absolutely irrelevant. So always shop around.
James, can you get a secured loan on a buy-to-let property?
You can get a secured loan on a buy-to-let property. There is a limited amount of companies in that marketplace. It's dwindled dramatically over the last sort of 12 to 18 months. And the couple of companies that are left that are doing them, the rates of interest aren't amazingly competitive. But again, it's an option, and if all your other channels are closed and that's the only way, then, you know, it may still be worth the rate that you're going to pay back in terms of the overall business proposition. I mean, there's a term that you'll hear a lot today from me and Mike, due diligence, you know. Always do your due diligence on everything, from the property you're buying to the finance, the way you're financing that property. As Mike said, have your exit strategies, know exactly what you're going to be up against. But, you know, don't focus too much on one thing or the other. Look at it as a package, and, you know, if one part of the package isn't so favourable, as long as the other parts of the package are, and as a business case it stacks up, then, you know, it may still be worth looking into.